Welcome into Inside the SMC, presented by Team FYN Sports. Jake West, joined as always by Brandon Stevens. Brandon, we find ourselves in week 4 of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association football season. A lot of great individual performances last week, and let's take a quick look at some of those as we look at our week 3 players of the week. Reese Winchester, the new starting quarterback for Swain County this year, played a really good ball game last week for them. And as always, over in Robbinsville, I was talking to somebody earlier, Brandon, and just about how crazy it is that the Black Knights are able to reload their offensive line the way they are every single year. Over 300 yards rushing on the ground last week from multiple backs, and the Knights O line just cleared the way for that. Let's see. There we go. Avery Leatherwood from Hayesville. He has filled the role of Jake McTaggart very nicely, playing defensive end for the Yellow Jackets on the defensive side, and also just a huge tight end target for Logan Caldwell. Week 3 player of the week from Hayesville. And then Daniel Inslee over in Franklin. He played great in the loss last week to Swain County, that overtime thriller. He kind of picked up some slack when Ty Hanley got banged up and had to go out. And then, Brandon, you called it. Chase Calhoun from Cherokee had a great week last week. A ton of yards on the ground. He was pretty much their only offensive production. And then in Andrews, Cole Anderson. Wildcats finally put the ball in the air, and Cole Anderson had over 100 yards receiving. So a lot of great things from some individuals, but now that we've highlighted some of those individual performances, let's talk about some of the teams as a whole. What kind of surprised you from last week?
Let's see. Really, let me back into that because not surprised by the Swain Franklin game. In fact, I'm quite proud that I called that one right down to the money. Three. I was saying if Swain County won, they were going to win by 3 points. If Franklin won, they'd probably win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. So as it were, and not a very good football game for the Franklin Panthers. I think, well, either Swain, because Swain went down to the halftime scoreless in that game. No surprise with the Hayesville game, although maybe there in Cherokee, it was not the best first half, as Choctaw had a really fast running back that could sweep out and just move lightning fast. But, and I thought, man, this is going to be like one of those big, like 50, 60 to nothing shutouts. But hey, Cherokee came back and got on its horse and moved Chase Calhoun 20 points. I mean, coming back, I thought, looking at the score when I was over in Tennessee last weekend, that was big. Robbinsville game, and of course Murphy's Open last week, but and then Andrews with big one. Nothing really just jumped out there and bit me, but because I think our assumptions fell to the way that things happened. But the Swain game, that was big there, and I think that was one that probably came out and surprised me the most, as you had in that game, Ty Handley that went out early. And also Gabe Lillard, I won't say exactly why, but has not been functioning at 100%. So the other person there that I think that while you had some really good calls with your players or our players of the week, that the other person that really propped folks up and, really did well, I think, was Josh Collins. Now, 96 yards, maybe 100 yards, give or take, of all-purpose offense. But in there, 19 carries, about 70 yards on the ground. The rest of it was passing. But those were really big yards that he got. And I think therein, I was going in without the knowledge of what was happening with Gabe Lillard. But really, in this one, Swain's the one that stuck out and surprised me, and I was like, man, that's a game. I would buy a ticket for that game.
Yeah, let's stick with that game. I watched a little bit of it on TV as I was coming home from Fannin and Pickens game over in Georgia, but it seemed like, just the weather was terrible. poured rain all night, and
Mhm.
that kind of plays into the kind of football I think Swain wants to play. But also, I mean, it plays into the hands of Franklin, obviously, but Ty Henley going out is huge. I don't think he played much of the second half, and I mean, the second half of that football game was a fumble fest. I think there was like five fumbles, five turnovers there in the
Right.
second half of that ball game. Uh, but I mean, you called it. You said that if Swain was going to come away with a victory, then it was going to have to be by just a couple points. And you also got a chance to catch up with head coach of the Maroon Devils, Sherman Holt. Let's hear what he had to say before we give our thoughts on it.
Coach Sherman Holt joins us for a second. Coach, just your open thoughts. Must have been tough over in Franklin.
Yeah, it was another hard-fought ball game for our kids, and anytime you go to Franklin, it's always a tough physical football game, and you battle that home crowd environment that they have. A lot of tradition over there, and our kids, just hats off to them. We stayed in there for 4 quarters and plus overtime, so it was kind of one of those things where we had to gut it out in extra innings, if you could say, and our
Right.
kids rose to the occasion. So proud of their effort.
Was this tenacious defense?
Yeah, our defense played pretty good. I think we give up 86 yards on the ground rushing. I think they had 140 something total yardage, something like that. So pretty good night from our defense when you can hold them under 150 total yards. So.
Individually, sounds like Josh Collins did pretty well.
Yeah, Josh ran the ball well for us. For one thing that we noticed, they were kind of keying on our inside veer play and kind of took Gabe out of the mix. And, they were playing Gabe differently than what teams had played us first 2 weeks. And so they kind of made us, pull the ball and pitch it. We ran our little counter scheme a little bit. And, Josh done good. Line play was pretty good up front, opening those holes.
Well, I was going to ask about the line now. Anytime you can see not that many points, especially against Franklin, your line had to do it. The guys in the trenches had to do well.
Yeah, we played real good in the trenches on both sides. Defensively, we're learning every week, getting a little better about reading what the offensive line's doing, reading their foot, and the steps or if they're pulling or something. So just getting better at reading our keys defensively and just rallying to the football. We've tackled pretty well the first 3 weeks, and we emphasize that in practice. So it's good to watch them go out and play on Friday night and do the things that you've worked on during the week.
How tough is Pisgah?
Pisgah presents a tough challenge for us. Traditionally a real good football team. Coach Chappell does a real good job. He's got a good staff. I think they're probably one of the most athletic Pisgah teams I've seen in the past few years. They got some playmakers on the edge that they like to throw it to, and they got a good running back. They're well coached up front, and another challenge for us. How physical can we be? Can we impose our will? Can we not give up big plays, on defense, and then try to cash in on offense when we have the ball and just take care of the possession is our biggest thing.
Coach, anything before we let you go? Is there anything interesting this week?
Just another tough opponent. I mean, our schedule has been pretty tough. Played a good Smoky Mountain team a couple weeks ago, played a tough Franklin team last week. Now we got a tough Pisgah team coming up, and that's by design. We want to kind of be tested before our conference starts because, we play good football in the SMC, and, having to play all 3A teams, that's real important for us. We play in all 3A teams from the mountains, and just getting our team battle tested, getting them ready for our conference play. That's why we scheduled some of these teams, and it'll be good for both our communities. 2 real good football communities coming from Canton and then Bryson City. We both of us value football, and I'm sure there'll be a big crowd here Friday night.
Well, as always, go Maroon Devils.
Yes, sir.
So, what did you think? He mentioned the tough schedule. Let's talk about this coming week for Swain. Did Coach Holt seem confident heading into this game, or was he? They're getting towards the end of this very good conference schedule. Are we going to see a worn-out Swain team that's played all these 3A schools, or are we going to see another Swain team hanging in there like a hare and a biscuit, just fighting their tails off?
No, I think with them, let's just call it as it is. And if there's somebody from Weaverville listening, I mean, it's not the best North Buncombe team that you faced.
Yeah.
You faced a real tough in the very beginning. Now, their schedule is getting tougher. It is obviously it's not a cakewalk. We're not waiting for the music to end and land on the right number for Swain County. It's getting much more difficult with Franklin, and that one was not just handed to you. Even though you probably on both, and you can't say, well, Ty Handley was out, and that's what allowed Swain to slip through and get that win. Swain went scoreless in the first half. Franklin went scoreless in the second half, and both were scratching at each other. You back up, but Smoky Mountain game. I mean, you've got one of the best runners and receivers, in Western North Carolina facing you, and that was tough to scratch out, even though you gave it up in your home. So Swain has not had, any kind of just gimme games. And maybe that was North Buncombe at the very beginning, but still, Swain was knocking the rust off of it. So I think Swain is showing improvement, although they have had they're hobbled a little bit. So going into this one's going to be very important because Brett Chappell is just a master with coaching. He was a great player at Rosman. He was an incredible talent at Western Carolina University, and he's carried that over into coaching, whether it was at East Henderson or went to now at Pisgah. Likes to spread it out, likes to exercise, like to keep you on your toes. Those wing T, double wing powers, counters. He'll keep you guessing. So really, the test here, I think Swain has the spirit and the vim in them to make this a real competitive game. And I would even just give this to Swain by just by a touch, but because again they're trying to get firm footing. And is it Josh Collins? And I watched them in practice this week. They practiced in the rain on Labor Day, and I think the guys are in pretty good spirits with Swain County. So no, I don't think they're tired. I think they're just getting their second wind.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go just with you. I think Swain comes into this game, according to Massey ratings, a 7-point underdog. I think that should be flip-flopped. I think they should be a 7-point favorite coming into this ball game, just because of, just the grit we've seen them show so far. But you mentioned cupcakes. We got to talk about cupcake game that Cherokee is going to see this week against Rosman. I think this is a get right game for Cherokee. They've got to figure out what they're doing at the quarterback position, because they've got in Driver and Calhoun, they've got a really good backfield.
Yeah, talking about get right, can't get. Almost takes them back to the movie Life. So yeah, Cherokee can step up and say, "We the Pappy" in this game, and it is. It's time for Cherokee, because once again that Choctaw game was not an easy one. And as I mentioned to you before, this is like 20 years in the making since that Battle of the Nation started up. The Choctaws have a slight advantage because they can all speak Choctaw and audible at the line. But man, beyond that, and it's the atmosphere. We had the royalty here in Cherokee, but Choctaw had some really talented athletes, and they could move. And again, I've been waiting for Chase Calhoun to, for Cherokee to step up to the microphone and force him out there. Do you know the numbers on them, or what? Because as of late, before we were getting ready to come on, I didn't see updated Cherokee stats, which is important.
Yeah, Calhoun, he carried the ball 32 times for 206 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the numbers that obviously those are great numbers, but on the flip side of that, So Smith, who's replacing Don Bradley, he was 2 for 11 passing for only 48 yards and an interception. And I think Smith has had an interception in every game that the Braves have played so far this year. So that's really where they're lacking. Obviously, he's inexperienced, doesn't have a lot of snaps under his belt, and he's replacing Don Bradley, who is one of the best athletes to come through Cherokee in a while. But they've got to figure that out, and I think this Rosman game gives them a perfect opportunity to kind of put the ball in the air and figure out, their pass blocking schemes and, who's going to be his number one target.
Yeah, and you've got only just a couple of weeks to do that. Conference starts up in 2 or 3 weeks. Cherokee travels out to Murphy, take on the Bulldogs, and from there on, it's stacking up to see where you're going to land, to see if you get some extra games down in November.
Yeah, I agree. I just think defensively, they've got some bright spots. They've done a great job replacing some of the guys they lost. Luke Climenberry, he plays everything from defensive end to linebacker. I think he's a lead in the conference in tackles. He played great last year, and with another year under his belt, he's really shining. They've just got to put some things together offensively to be able to compete in the conference, like you said. But enough on that one. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk a little bit about Hayesville and their game against the North Georgia Falcons last week.
All right.
B&M Metals has been serving the Southeast for almost 50 years. From metal roofs and panels to gutters and metal accessories, B&M Metals is your one-stop shop for all things metal. They pride themselves on providing great service and quality at a competitive price. Give B&M Metals a call at 706-864-6068 or visit them at 6195 Highway 52 East in Murrayville or at bmmetalroofing.com. B&M Metals, protecting everything that matters to you most.
Taking a road trip is about having fun. Installing only the finest CarQuest parts from Murphy Auto Parts keeps you in the fun zone. Come by and visit our new location at 420 Peachtree Street in Murphy, where we're more than just a parts store. Trust your road trip to CarQuest Auto Parts from Murphy Auto Parts.
At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the Endless Aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days, same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
Are you looking for expertly decorated gifts you'll love with your custom design or logo? Graphic Expressions in Blue Ridge is your go-to place for custom apparel, accessories, gifts, and much more. Graphic Expressions is located at 3640 East 1st Street in Blue Ridge, or give them a call at 706-946-4605. Graphic Expressions, unrivaled customer service, pure brand awesomeness.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
North Georgia Metals has been serving the Southeast for over 40 years. From metal roofs and panels to gutters and metal accessories, North Georgia Metals is your one-stop shop for all things metal. Give the team at North Georgia Metals a call at 706-276-1633 or visit them at 15544 Highway 515 South in Ellijay or on the web at northgeorgiametals.com.
Welcome back, Jake West, Brandon Stevens. This is Inside the SMC, presented by Team FYN Sports. Brandon, let's get into the Hayesville Yellow Jackets and their schedule. They're going to be going down to Tennessee, right outside the Chattanooga area, just as the Bulldogs are this week as they travel to Lookout Valley. But let's talk about just their huge win over North Georgia Falcons last week. I talked to Coach McClure, and he said their starters got pulled midway through the second quarter.
And I tell you what, we'll tag team this, and because I can tell you more about how Lookout Valley is going to look and the perspective of that. If you can tell us about the game from last Friday night, having not really seen them, I was once again over on the west side of Chattanooga. I had to get my geography right. The west side of Chattanooga, over on by the Lookout Mountain, and checked out South Pittsburgh and Lookout Valley. Lookout Valley Yellow Jackets taking on the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. I can tell you all about that. And then later on, give you a nice preview of the South Pittsburgh Murphy game.
Yeah, I mean, great game to kind of get on track offensively for Hayesville. We've seen Hayesville kind of struggle offensively through the first two games. And then last week, they really just poured it on. But I got a chance to catch up with Coach Chad McClure from Hayesville. Let's hear what he has to say.
Coach, tell us a little bit about your season so far. You're starting off 3-0 for the first time since 2015-2016 season. Played some pretty good teams. Last week played a pretty bad team, but you got to see, kind of how through 3 games you've seen your guys battle adversity and then also not overlook opponents.
Right. Well, first of all, it's a credit to our kids. I feel first couple of games especially, we were behind, most of the game in both those games. And, we just challenged our kids to be resilient. Still don't feel like we're playing our best football yet. But in those first 2 games, in years past, a lot of teams that we've had, didn't find ways to win those games. And this group is finding those ways to win, whether it be defensively, offensively, special teams. And, they're excited, but they still understand that, we've got some tough games ahead. The schedule's going to get tougher. So we're just trying to keep them focused one game at a time. But, I'm proud of the start, but that's all it is, We've had great starts here before and then fall off at the end. That's one thing we don't want to happen this year.
So looking forward to next week on the road at Lookout Valley, I believe. How are you guys preparing for, such a long trip? And a team that seems to be a lot better than they were last time you saw them.
Definitely they look better than they were last year. The trip is about like it was last week. We know the opponent's better this week for sure. But I felt this group last week really prepared well. We got down there and went through warm-ups, and then the time was off, so they added time, but they didn't lose focus. They seem more driven and ready. We'll keep the same plan as last week, going down, another two hour or so trip. And we know it's going to be tough this week. We look at them on film, and they do some things offensively that we're trying to prepare for. More of a running game, but they can pass it. I believe that they're mostly run, about 85% run. So just trying to keep these kids focused. They're excited though, and seem upbeat and ready for the challenge.
Who kind of on your roster is emerging, and it may not be a shock to anyone whose name you say, is emerging kind of just as the locker room leader and like leading by example as to you mentioned the good starts that have happened previously here at Hayesville, and then you've seemed to hit that wall. Who are you looking forward to helping you kind of get over that, break through it, and
Right. Well, we elected, and it's not just one. We've got a handful of guys that we've elected as yearly captains who we feel like have put the work in and come in every day and lead by example. And Logan Caldwell is one of those guys. Kyle Lunsford, Jeremy Graves, Avery Leatherwood, Lane Odell, and Taylor McClure are our captains this year. And those guys, they're keeping the team focused. They're and keeping them humble too, because they know they've been there. They know, especially when we get in our conference season, that it's going to get a lot tougher.
Well, Coach, appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Hopefully, heading into conference, I'll be sitting here with you, and we can do this again when you're 5-0, looking at your conference schedule.
Well, that'd be great. We're looking at going 4-0 this week, and then we'll get ready for next week when that comes. Appreciate
All right,
you,
Coach. Thank you. As always, go Jackets.
Go Jackets.
Yeah. I truly want to smile with him because I have no doubt, unless there's just something wrong, Jake, that the bus breaks down, Hayesville has to forfeit, or just the wheels fall off, or virus goes through the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. This is not the best Lookout Valley team that I watched, and and if you're now the Murphy crowd looking to scout the South Pittsburgh team that played Lookout Valley this week, this is probably not the game to watch. Lookout Valley had a lot of miscues in the first opening. The first possession, it was they started falling back, bad snap, and then all of a sudden South Pittsburgh is at the 37-yard line, drilling it in, and then this kept occurring over and over and over. And the tough defense that South Pitt put out, there was very, very little production that Lookout Valley came away with. So just being as kind and soft as I can, I believe this will be a long trip for Hayesville, but it'll be one that if you just do what you need to do, I think this will be like definitely a double-digit win for the Hayesville Yellow Jackets.
So I think we're both in agreement Hayesville's going to win this game, but Hayesville, a 28-point favorite on Massey ratings.
Right.
Would you take that?
And then some, because all right, you do have the last week the Tennessee 1A state champion playing Lookout Valley, and they beat them 65-6. But I think herein, unless Hayesville just doesn't play, I think it could be just about that, at least 30, 35 points. And there wasn't a lot of gusto coming through with Lookout Valley, and Coach Josh Payne, whom we talked to afterwards, he just really just said, look, we didn't play ball. We had too many mistakes. We're not coordinated. We need discipline. Our plays are not going off. They run out of either an I formation or a pro I, and they were running into a team that will eat you alive if you try to drive between the posts, because South Pitt just, they'd cram 9 people into the box, and the run games just didn't happen. The pass plays, South Pitt was right there lasering in on every little pass. And we'll talk about these other guys, but the defensive secondary just, 4 interceptions, and that's enough to sink the boat alone. If you have, like I asked you about a week or so ago, how many turnovers can you stand in a game? 2 at max, but when you've got 4 and 2 of those were pick sixes, so that was tremendous. And so no, I could go on and on and on and drill this in, but I won't burn the airtime. But this could be a very good, solid win, and not only that, but it gives Hayesville an opportunity to say, yeah, we're 4-0, and we traveled and exercising their offense and defense. This will be a good night for them.
Well, let's talk about another team that had a really good night last Friday night in Robbinsville. They had a huge win over Mountain Heritage, over 300 yards on the ground as a team. Oh. There's not much to take away from that game. Mountain Heritage has slid a lot. I mean, they were 2A state champs a couple of years ago, and they've done nothing but been on the decline. But Robbinsville is going to face a pretty tough test, especially if the Mustangs are healthy in this one as they travel to Silva.
Well, let me tell you about what's happening in the Silva front. Since I'm closer there and can jump into that, yeah, you've got. Let's take a look at your Cutler Adams run here. Nice, just breaks through the hole there. Looks really solid, and not only just cuts through a narrow gap, but I like the way he runs. He's smooth. He's not going away from a narrow hole.
Yeah,
Carson?
so this is what Smoky Mountain's going to see next week. What is Smoky Mountain going to bring to Robbinsville? I mean, do we know, is McNeely healthy? Is he going to be running the ball next week? What have you heard on the Mustangs front?
Yeah, so here's the deal. It's flip-flop now. Isaiah McNeely played last week in the TC Robertson game. And it wasn't a good game for Smoky Mountain. It wasn't the best to go over and take on the Rams, but he had 101 yards rushing. But the person who is now out week to week, I checked in, this coming from Silver Herald reporter Kerry Phillips, telling me, saying, look, Damari Williams is now week to week, and they're relying on some other names that you haven't really heard. And I think I grew up with some of their families, like Jace Stillwell and Stillwell families and Lincoln Sutton. They're now stepping up, but most often you see three wide receivers, either to the left, to the right, one to the right, one to the left, for the passing. And Jed, the quarterback, he's got some good options. So Isaiah's back, and McNeely. I think that this is going to be a good test. One, you have to make a long road trip to Silva. It's about an hour and 15 minutes to get over to Silva, and then two, you're in their property, and it's going to be under their lights. But I think it's time for Isaiah to shine. But as we saw there, the Mustang defense, which has allowed a few points, and got a couple of chinks in its armor. Yeah, that's going to be some holes there for Cutler Adams to show his stuff there too. I think this is another one that this week, yeah, I'll pay money to go watch this football game, Smoky Mountain and Robbinsville. Really, Jake, flip the coin, and this could be anybody's ball game. But the big factor here is it depends on the defense. Now, you're giving kudos to the offensive line at Robbinsville. This week, Smoky Mountain's going to have to step its defensive front up, because you can't allow those creases that you saw in that first clip, because otherwise Cutler will cut you.
Yeah, I think actually it would benefit Smoky Mountain more maybe if McNeely was the one that was banged up and they were able to move the ball through the air, which I'm not saying they're not going to be able to, but I just think you're not going to be able to run the ball down Robbinsville's throat, I don't think, but you might be able to throw it around on them as long as you stay away from Brock Adams.
Totally agree. And I'll tell you what happened. We've been hearing Damari Williams, and no, you don't want to ever hear somebody say, "Well, it's a benefit for somebody to be hurt," but but to exercise the way that Jace Stillwell. If you roll back the film a couple of weeks ago, he's the one who really caught the big pass and got Smoky Mountain down the field and turned the game around between the Mustangs and the Maroon Devils. So, yeah, so these other guys that you haven't heard about, Damari, or rather Jace Stillwell and Lincoln Sutton, they're kind of, to me, back when we were going into the season, I would have written under the radar articles on these guys.
I think still, nonetheless, I'm rolling with the Black Knights in this one to come out with a win. Even though it's on the road, I just think they've played. I mean, they lost that first one against Asheville, but they still played a good ball game, and I think they're still putting things together.
And only going back to my statement earlier that flip a coin on this one, I think this one's going to be tough and evenly matched, and I'll go with you just to just jump off the fence. Although I'm a Smoky Mountain alum, but you probably have just the good. If there was probably a more physical team, it might be Robbinsville, and that might be what carries you through.
Yeah.
And on this side, otherwise, there might be a little more skilled work on the other, or packed skilled side on Smoky Mountain side, but maybe the true grit is what pushes you through. And that's, so yeah, I'll side with you just to even,
Yeah, you just don't want me to come back in the pick'em standings. But
That's right.
let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk Mitchell Andrews and Murphy South Bend.
B&M Metals has been serving the Southeast for almost 50 years. From metal roofs and panels to gutters and metal accessories, B&M Metals is your one-stop shop for all things metal. They pride themselves on providing great service and quality at a competitive price. Give B&M Metals a call at 706-864-6068 or visit them at 6195 Highway 52 East in Murrayville or at bmmetalroofing.com. B&M Metals, protecting everything that matters to you most.
Taking a road trip is about having fun. Installing only the finest CarQuest parts from Murphy Auto Parts keeps you in the fun zone. Come by and visit our new location at 420 Peachtree Street in Murphy, where we're more than just a parts store. Trust your road trip to CarQuest Auto Parts from Murphy Auto Parts.
At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the endless aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days, same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
Are you looking for expertly decorated gifts you'll love with your custom design or logo? Graphic Expressions in Blue Ridge is your go-to place for custom apparel, accessories, gifts, and much more. Graphic Expressions is located at 3640 East 1st Street in Blue Ridge, or give them a call at 706-946-4605. Graphic Expressions, unrivaled customer service, pure brand awesomeness.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
North Georgia Metals has been serving the Southeast for over 40 years. From metal roofs and panels to gutters and metal accessories, North Georgia Metals is your one-stop shop for all things metal. Give the team at North Georgia Metals a call at 706-276-1633 or visit them at 15544 Highway 515 South in Ellijay or on the web at northgeorgiametals.com.
Welcome back, Jake West, Brandon Stevens. This is Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference presented by Team FYN Sports. Brandon Andrews, just a slaughter on the road last week. A huge win for them. But they're by far their toughest test of the season this week is against Mitchell. Let's talk about the Mitchell game. We don't need to spend any time on their game last week. I mean, it was just a mowing down of the opponent. But what do you see this week heading into Mitchell? Mitchell dropped one to Watauga last week on a controversial call, And we got to see Watauga in that scrimmage with Murphy earlier this year, and they were very good. And Mitchell hung with them hand and foot. So this is going to be a very good ball game in Bakersville on Friday night.
When is it not? I mean, when you go to start down that little lonely road to Ledger, and you get out there to their school. The Pittmans have always put forth a really good football team. The biggest scare has been the quarterback, Turbofield. I mean, and the quarterback has, for the past 5, 6, 7 years, that's been the backbone of the team. I mean, a couple of years ago when they had the quarterback that was really just mowing down. Cherokee couldn't stop them. They were, into almost the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. Murphy squeaked by them to go on to the state championship. And leading up till now, the big one here is Turbofield. Thought maybe broke his foot, and that was going to literally hobble the football team. But no, they were state champs, runner-up last year. They went down, played Robbinsville real tough, and got down. And of course, no one's going to get past last year's state champion. But it was a good run for them, and they didn't lose a whole lot. So run that 4-3 defense, wing T. This is going to be the test, I think, for Andrews to say, how are you going to face future teams like Murphy? How are you going to get through tough defenses like Robbinsville, and stop the Ty Laneys and the Cutler Adams and the Gabe and Joshes of the world from Swain County. So this, to me, now leading up, I mean, I won't say that Andrews has had a soft schedule. It's been a little softer than most. The Hickory Hawks, that was a good game. East Henderson, not a physical team but it's been a building steps for the Andrews Wildcats, and it's allowed them to get better, gain some more confidence, what they need. But this year is their year to shine, I think, and so this is going to be this is the big test. Not to say any of those others were gimme games, but this one is definitely going to tell you a lot about your team or anything that you've had to build up. Now, when we visited with Coach Phillips this week, team's really into getting more conditioned. I think they've got everything dialed in that last football game. It's almost like when the Andrews rolled in, they handed out touchdowns to everybody. I think everybody got a touchdown in that game. I think if you and I had been there, they'd have put us in and we'd have ran a touchdown. So very good one for Andrews. So in this one, it changes. And I think in one of my phrases this week in an article is like, sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. We'll see how it works this week, but this is going to be a test because you got to go way up north.
Yeah. Before we give our picks in this one, let's hear what Coach James Phillips had to say.
All right, Coach Phillips joins us for a few seconds. Coach, big game Friday night, 52-6. You win over North Buncombe. Your open thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we challenged the boys to respond to the bus ride and, a 2-hour plus ride going out there to a 3A school, and the kids responded that well, and I thought they responded better in the North Buncombe game than they did against Hickory. Hickory were real sluggish for the first quarter, and my challenge was we got to be better to start the game. So they're excited. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Weightlifting game.
Yeah, they're in the weight room, so that's where they're happy at. So, but the boys responded. We come out fast. I mean, North Buncombe, I knew they were going to try to play hard, but we put up 2 quick scores in the first quarter, and I don't know, 35-0 halftime maybe. So the boys executed well. We cleaned up some of the sloppy penalties that we'd had against East Henderson. So I was proud of the execution.
But everybody got a piece of the pie. Donovan, Isaac, Austin, even Eli.
Yeah. I thought Donovan had his best game to date. We continued to challenge him, and he challenges himself as a senior. I mean, it doesn't take a ton of challenging from us as coaches. He's known each week that he needs to be better and be better, and Friday night he was exceptional. He was 7 of 8 for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Cole Anderson was big for us receiving. He had 4 catches for 126 yards and a big interception in the first half. And of course, Isaac and Austin each had a few carries apiece, and Isaac was over 100 and Austin was just under, with a couple of 3 touchdowns between them. And Eli's a sophomore, Aguilar, that continues to get better and better for us. So, it's good to have 3 kids back there that can carry the ball.
Tell me about the protection you get from the guys in the trenches, because to do all that, you got to have some guys keeping shade on the holes,
Yeah, and again, my focus, that's what I do, coach line, and so my focus, has been lasering in on them and making them better and making that group cohesive, because that's what you got to have. They're kind of within a team, and you're only going to be as good as your offensive defensive line. So, the challenge was to keep getting better last week, and they did that. We had like 26 carries for about 300 yards, so rushing, and then we had over 200 passing. So, they've done a good job, and the challenge is even more this week against Mitchell.
Another big bus ride. You go up to Mitchell, and you got one from them last year. I'm sure they're going to want to get you up there in Ledger.
Yeah, Coach Pittman has built a great program up there in the last several years, and I got a lot of respect for his program and the way that he runs it. And they've been super successful. They were state runner-up last year. They got a lot of weapons back. They got a strong senior class, and it's a tough ride up to Mitchell, and that's something that our kids know. We've had our fair share of trips to, Elkin and places like that in the playoffs, and you try to learn from those experiences, and Mitchell's a tough place to play. We went up there a few times back in my Swain days, and it was always war. So I expect this will be a war also.
All right, Coach, anything before I let you roll?
No, go Cats.
As always, go Wildcats. Love to visit with that guy. He's always full of good information. He's always got good things about him. And just to build off what he said, Donovan, and we don't want we know it was a big game, 50 to like a 40 some point spread between, but Donovan, 7 of 8, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns. We had Weaver, 8 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Austin, 8 of 70 and a touchdown, and sophomore Eli, 10 carries, 80 yards. So, Jake, when you get numbers like that, and you, I think where you're getting ready to lead us next is like, who's going to win this ball game? How's the outcome going to be? So when you're building confidence, and even though you might have had a weaker team like a Hickory Hawks or East Henderson was maybe not the most solid team in Western North Carolina that you played, and you won handily. Well, that's building confidence, and when you start building numbers and you start building ability, to me that gives you more of the fortitude to go face a Mitchell. I think going up there, and also the possibilities that you've got an injured quarterback, and I don't know exactly. I haven't spoken to anybody to reach out to see what's happening. Is he back 100%, 80%? They've got somebody waiting in the wings. I think almost getting the feeling like the wind's behind Andrews, and this will be big for them. And I give them 7 points. And I think the Andrews Wildcats will go up there. Although Mitchell's, they're ticked. They went to a state championship game, but they lost to this Andrews team that they were supposed to lose, not win against. And this is supposed to be a pushover team and come down in this part of the – no, I think they're going to be wanting to knock off the Andrews Wildcats, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think you'll get the Andrews Wildcats on the bus. They'll be serious. They'll play, and they've been exercised quite well. They know their positions. They know what to look for. It'll just be a little bit more of a test than what it was. And as things are increasing, maybe it wasn't a big test with North Buncombe, but I think they're ready and they'll pull through this one. Won't be easy though.
I agree. Andrews is my pick, but down to the nitty gritty, if Andrews keeps it within 7, 8, 10 points, I think that's also a win, because we've seen what Mitchell can do and just how good this Mitchell team is. I mean, the fact that they should have won that game last week against Watauga says it all. But
I think I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think what you're saying here, yeah, probably to say you're going to go face a really good team, because Mitchell's not a pushover. and they didn't lose that much from last year. They've always got the spirit going through their to get them to the playoffs and to get them into a good round of the state playoffs. 7 to 8 point loss, I think, is probably a little more demoralizing because I think that you come through and because you're going to want to win, and Andrew's going through. They've got a lot riding because there's a lot of gusto. You can go into that town and there's a new spirit that yes, we're the team to beat this year, and to lose one, I think that would probably pull the wind out of somebody's sails. I hope that doesn't happen. So I'm still behind Andrews, and I still think 7 point. But yeah, it would be a moral victory. If you lose by any more than that, it's not so much. But I think that hopefully that won't bring down the Wildcats if they lose in that football game. That's my point.
Let's talk about a game. The last game on the docket this week. We're going to be there live on fyntv.com. South Pitt hosts Murphy. Murphy's going to travel down there. You saw South Pitt last week. We've got about 10 minutes left. Brandon, tell us, what is Murphy going to see against South Pitt?
This is a different football team that probably you haven't seen in a good while. Spread out there, it's full of athletes. Let's just start with that. They're generally two wide receivers. There's a really strong quarterback as a junior. Camden Wellington is his name. He's either going to be flanked with a halfback. I'll tell you how Robinson was a guy. Now, all these guys will generally just there's a lot of passing. We'll see probably in the Lookout Valley game, I think I stopped count at 25 passes and short hot routes, swing passes, a lot of bubble slants. So the corners are going to have to be really on their toes. So if you're the Wyatt Simmonses, the Hunter Stalkups, that crowd in the periphery, you're going to have to really stay on your toes and watch what the heck you're doing, because they will burn you at that point. Otherwise, you'll see the usual, the powers, every once in a while you'll see a jet sweep, but not so much. This is a passing team that likes to spread you out. Inside the line, not so big, a little bit shorter. They're not pudgy big guys like what we've seen, but they can move. They're very agile. The defense flies to the ball. And so when you're not showing any kind of possible pass, they'll crowd 8, 9, maybe even 10 men close into the box and snuff you out. But otherwise, this is a younger team. But when you say younger, because they're a state 1A football champion, and they lost a ton of people to graduation. There are not many seniors in the really big positions, but they came along and they just basically reloaded. And they had a number 3, Caden Pace, I believe was his name, who came in the second half and played for Camden Wellington. He's every bit as good as a freshman as the junior quarterback. So really, Camden Wellington, if he gets hurt, decides not to show up for the game, their freshman quarterback is going to do really, really well. He has a good arm. He's not. He's just about as tall. But bottom line is, there's not really a weak spot that I saw. But this is not the game that you need to watch. The game that you needed to watch was last week's 34-0 win by Chattanooga Christian that absolutely shut out South Pittsburgh.
First time since 2011, South Pittsburgh been shut out.
Right, and don't watch the very first game though. That Sasquatchie, I think I'm pronouncing that right. The Indians from Sasquatchie County that came up. That was also a blowout too. It was like maybe 24-7 or something like that. But no, the game there is, what did South Christian do? How did they power to it? Murphy's got to come with that same that second half that we saw at Commerce, with the Cadence Leatherwood jumping into the backfield, the Mason Thrasher thrashing people, and then behind them is the Ty Laneys. But also you're going to have the secondary secondary is going to be worn out. And the big key here is Murphy's going to have to really handle the ball well and keep the defense off the field. Because otherwise, at the end of the night, South Pittsburgh scored every possession. Seemed like until maybe like one or two freakish last possessions, but otherwise, these guys will wear you out, and you better be rested, you better be nourished, you better be ready to go, and not suck wind in this game. This is going to be one test of you that. I can't keep going on, but and I think I wrote in the article this week. It's one that there's a family legacy here. Coach Wes Stone is the coach. He came in last year. The coach Chris Jones left after like one or two games, and went back to Canada to play to a coach in CFL, the Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
But Wes Stone, his daddy Johnny, was in 1969. It was Chris, 1994. His brother was 1999. His son was 2010. So there's like this whole family that's won state championships. It's kind of like Murphy Robbinsville families that they bling when they have family reunions. And now he's got his son Jace Stone, who's wide receiver. Their goal is, they don't look at having a winning season, winning conference. They're looking at having a state championship and everything in perfection. So that should tell you volumes that this team is going to come at you. And also, as I wrote this week, it's kind of like a Winston Churchill. They'll attack you from the land and the air, and any way that God gives you the strength to do it. So it's like this is going to be a fun game to watch. But Murphy's got to stay close, or otherwise, this one will get away from them very easily. But I believe that the way that I've seen Murphy this week in practice, a good Labor Day practice, practice in the rain, when they came off the field yesterday, spirits are high. They've got a sober, serious mind on this. It's not, fantastic they know the work that they've got to do. And plus, I think with talking with Coach Watson, if things still remain the same, they couldn't get the good bus, so they're going to go over in the activity buses. This is going to be a rough ride for Murphy to get 2.5 hours on those old white buses to get over there and get set and air conditioning and everything else. So be ready for this one.
The biggest takeaway, obviously, I think, from everything you just said, Murphy doesn't see many teams a year that throw the ball 30 times a game. So the corners are going to have to be on top of it. With that being said, as young as this cornerback group is, this game on Massey ratings, I think it's 1 point in favor of South Pitt. What do you see? I think we're both in the same boat here, where if Murphy doesn't execute and they have silly turnovers, I don't know that they're going to be able to recover from those as quickly as they were against Commerce, because Commerce was kind of the same ground and pound team, and Murphy was able to stand tall and get a few stops themselves. But if Murphy turns the football over, what I'm saying is South Pittsburgh can strike so quickly, it's going to be hard for Murphy to stay in the game.
They don't waste time, and number one, they were forcing turnovers deep. The one big thing in that Lookout Valley game is that that Lookout Valley, for most of the first half, did not get out of its own territory. So in other words, they didn't cross the 50-yard line until like the late parts of that first half. And then only because of the second half coming through, they got into South Pittsburgh territory. So there was always very short field position for South Pittsburgh. So in saying that, Murphy can't mess around. You cannot. You've got to come out with a big tempo in the beginning, handle the ball well. Otherwise, those are things like, well, that's obvious, Brandon. We've got to do that every game. But in this one, you got to take it very seriously. If you don't, South Pittsburgh will eat you alive. And they had their own mistakes, Jake. They, there was a horse collar. There were unnecessary things that. A block in the back on a big run back that actually pulled back another touchdown. So it could have really been like a 72-6 game. There was a couple of little offside things, but they didn't pile up like Lookout Valley had. And so bottom line is Murphy can win this ball game if they stick to their guns. But it ain't going to be by much. And but on the other hand, South Pittsburgh could have a double-digit win if Murphy doesn't come to play ball.
I think we're in the same boat. I think just what you said with Swain and Franklin last week applies to this game here. If Murphy wins, I think it's by a small number. And if South Pittsburgh wins, I think that they do it through their high-powered offense and they win by, 14, 17 points.
I think it's a 3-point ball game to me. And I'm always optimistic. I told Braden Killian, he came to me and Joe Thorley from WKRK the other day and said, "Do you think we'll win?" I said, "I always believe, our Smoky Mountain Conference teams and Murphy will win. If you don't believe that you're going to win, stay at the house." So, yeah, and I think that there's something pushing Murphy here at this one point is to say, look, this is a big one, and you've got to have this one to power you, and especially – you go play Fannin, and then you've got the Christian Academy that's going to come in, and then you start the conference. So to get rolling into that, I think it's a must-have. And one of the fans told me, said, "Yeah, well, even if we lose by a touchdown or so, that's a win for us." Well, maybe, but I think that this one can be a Murphy football game, and maybe Coach Stone is expecting a good game. So he's going to prepare his team for, because when you look at Murphy and all the state championships they have, and this is like a big clash, so they're wanting to win. How much time we have left? And go back through and review these games.
I think we're out of time. We just need your Murphy pick here. Murphy South Pittsburgh.
Murphy by 3.
I think I'm riding with Murphy too. I just think they've got a lot to prove. There's been a lot, maybe so this year than in the previous, decade. They've been doubted more this year than maybe they've seen in recent memory. So I think they've got a lot to prove. I think Coach Watson and his staff is going to be prepared. But I also know that they're going to be facing a very good football team on Friday night.
I'll close out by saying this. I talked with Coach Laney, Eric Laney, and he said, "Look, we had some mistakes in that Commerce game. Once again, coming from the Franklin game, there were things in there that were correctable, things from the Commerce game that correctable. And then just as Coach Laney he just looked at me and says, and we ain't going to make those mistakes on Friday night." And I said, okay, well, good enough,
Well, that's going to do it for us. For Brandon Stevens, this is Jake West. This has been Inside the SMC. Tune in Friday night, South Pittsburgh, Murphy, live on FYNTV.com. We will at least be bringing you an audio broadcast, and if the Pirates faculty and administration will let us, will be live video, but it will at least be an audio broadcast on Friday night. Brandon, appreciate you for joining me, and we'll see you Friday night.
B&M Metals has been serving the Southeast for almost 50 years. From metal roofs and panels to gutters and metal accessories, B&M Metals is your one-stop shop for all things metal. They pride themselves on providing great service and quality at a competitive price. Give B&M Metals a call at 706-864-6068 or visit them at 6195 Highway 52 East in Murrayville or at bmmetalroofing.com. B&M Metals, protecting everything that matters to you most.
Taking a road trip is about having fun. Installing only the finest CarQuest parts from Murphy Auto Parts keeps you in the fun zone. Come by and visit our new location at 420 Peachtree Street in Murphy, where we're more than just a parts store. Trust your road trip to CarQuest Auto Parts from Murphy Auto Parts.
At Circuit World, we offer a wide selection of major appliances, name brands like Whirlpool, LG, Frigidaire, and more. Looking for furniture? Come by and browse our showroom or check out the Endless Aisle, a touchscreen kiosk with thousands of options. Need electronics, gaming computers, laptops, desktops, tablets? We have it all. OLED or QLED, 4K or high def. We have the selection to get you the TV of your dreams. And don't forget, at Circuit World, your credit is always good. So ask about our convenient payment options and 120 days, same as cash. Come see us today at one of our 5 area locations.
Are you looking for expertly decorated gifts you'll love with your custom design or logo? Graphic Expressions in Blue Ridge is your go-to place for custom apparel, accessories, gifts, and much more. Graphic Expressions is located at 3640 East 1st Street in Blue Ridge, or give them a call at 706-946-4605. Graphic Expressions, unrivaled customer service, pure brand awesomeness.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
North Georgia Metals has been serving the Southeast for over 40 years. From metal roofs and panels to gutters and metal accessories, North Georgia Metals is your one-stop shop for all things metal. Give the team at North Georgia Metals a call at 706-276-1633 or visit them at 15544 Highway 515 South in LJ or on the web at northgeorgiametals.com.